Well, this is Sky News. In just a moment, the press preview, a first look at what is on the front pages as they arrive. First, though, tonight, our top stories. At least 29 people have died across New York, New Jersey and Pennsylvania after flooding caused by ex-hurricane storm Ida. The Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab has said that evacuations from Kabul airport may be able to resume in the near future, following discussions with his Qatari counterpart in Doha. And Swedish pop stars ABBA have announced a new album and hologram stage show 40 years after they split. Well, hello there, you're watching the press preview. A first look then at what is on the front pages as they come in. Time to see what's making the headlines with the columnist Carol Malone and the editor of the Courier, David Clegg. Welcome to you, with us right through until midnight. So let's check out the front pages. The Daily Telegraph reports that Boris Johnson is expected next week to break a manifesto pledge and announce a rise in national insurance to pay for the biggest overhaul in social care funding in a generation. The Metro leading with Britain's shortage of workers, saying it has widened from HGV drivers and hospitality staff to nurses and carers, with 1.66 million advertised jobs now unfilled. British gas owner Centrica warning of soaring prices caused by a global supply crunch that could raise household bills. That makes the front of the Financial Times. Dog nappers could be jailed for 7 years in a major crackdown as thefts of pets almost triple in lockdown. That is the lead story for the Daily Mail. The Guardian goes with a former cabinet secretary warning that Britain and its allies have no coherent plan to deal with the huge refugee crisis expected to follow the Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan. The Sun reports that ministers are urging scientists to make a decision on vaccinating teenagers and booster jabs for the over 50s. And the Courier goes with a Scottish Tory MSP apologising to Nicola Sturgeon after suggesting the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, was anti-English. Talk more about that in a bit, David. Well, tonight, as you can see, joined by Carol and David, and certainly the lead story, Carol, for the Daily Telegraph has been bubbling for some time. How to pay for social care and whether you raid the coffers of national insurance. What does the paper say?
No, it's saying that Boris is expected to make an announcement next week. I mean, I think this is one tax. It's a national insurance rise. I think it could be between 1 and 1.25%. It's going to call. This is one tax that I don't think anyone can justifiably complain about. This boost for social care is long overdue. It's been the shame of many previous governments and this one that we have seen, the elderly, just being kind of the last on every list when money is being handed out. So I think this is going to be welcome for social care. And I don't think people complain. The thing that it is, though, it does break the Tories' manifesto pledge of 219, where they promised not to raise taxes. But I don't see how else we're going to pay for social care. There's a massive, massive gap there. People are being neglected. The elderly don't see people, from one day to the next, and we know a lot of them aren't feeding themselves, they're not able to clean themselves, look after themselves. So this is a tax that I'm very happy to pay.
Interesting, isn't it? Because we've got the health service also wanting something like 10 billion now, or facing a real shortfall. There's a lot of demand on the Treasury, if we can put it that way, David. Will people feel the same way as Carol, that actually social care, paying for affect your own future and that of your parents, is the right way to go?
So I think I agree with Carol to an extent, in that it is definitely true that social care has been a disgrace for far too long. It is an issue that successive governments have failed to tackle. It is one that must be tackled with urgency. You're also right that there's a vast array of issues that are going to require serious public spending. There's going to be major financial implications on the NHS indeed, but also all the COVID and pandemic spending that we're expecting in the years to come. Where I think Carol is wrong is that national insurance is not the right tax with which to address this. It is that across the board national insurance rise, which I think will affect about 25 million people, will hit the hardest young people and low earners. Those are groups that are struggling and have been struggling and require support. It is not as progressive as it could be. Even an income tax rise, even trying to raise it through income tax on high earners, would be a much better way to do it. I think if we do this, there's a few elements of it that cause problems. It just is on pensioners who are earning extra income won't pay on that because you stop paying national insurance after 66. It won't affect people who make money, generally wealthy people who make money from renting out second homes, for example. It won't be income from pensions or from owning a business. So this is very much a tax where the weight will fall on young people and low earners. And I do not think that is necessarily the right approach for this. I definitely think it's right that social care needs to be addressed. It needs a massive injection of money. The government needs somewhere to find that from somewhere. Boris Johnson is, of course, breaking a manifesto pledge, but that's not a great surprise to anyone. I think the way they're doing it is wrong, though.
Well, the major political challenge for the government will be... Hold on a minute, Carol, let me just read a bit of it out. The major political challenge for the government will be winning approval for its national insurance rise, both with the public and with Tory MPs, who are ideologically opposed to tax rises. The figures they give are around 32 million people aged over 16 are in employment in the UK, and more than 25 million of them pay national insurance, according to an estimate from the Resolution Foundation. So the point you're making, Carol, is if it's spread between 25 million and we are all benefiting from it, then that is the best way to do it, right, or not?
Completely, yes. And I think, it has been shameful over the past few years that the elderly have built up they own their own home. And sometimes they're having to sell their home out from underneath them to get the social care that they need. And Boris is talking with this particular tax rise, he's talking about putting a cap on what social care can be paid for. The cap is going to be between 60 and 80,000. So people will have to pay care up to that amount. So, I think, the idea of the elderly, having saved all their lives, they have a home and having to sell it. I think it's, at that time of your life, you don't want to sell your home you've been in for however many years. This will hopefully stop that.
Care costs, David, are high already, we know. Let's go to the Metro, which talks about the problem now of staffing. We've seen it with HGVs. We know that their wages have been rising, which to many people is a good news story. That's one of the reasons people wanted Brexit, to see domestic workers have their wages go up. But if that happens in the care industry, it becomes harder to pay for this, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think we're seeing the law of unintended consequences here. We've seen the empty shelves in the supermarket. We've seen the fuel shortages. We've even seen a shortage of beer in some of the pubs around near me, which I was particularly concerned about. So there's clearly big damage here, and now we're seeing the care crisis. And I think there is a serious issue here. I think there's a general acceptance that wages in the care sector have been low. They should be higher, but equally we need that care. It has a massive knock-on effect on the NHS if they're holding up discharges from hospitals, for example. And I think just there's a real... It's almost like so many issues coming together. We have Brexit, we have the issues that are being caused, I think, largely by COVID and the pingdemic, as it's been known, with lots of people not able to work because they're self-isolating or have a positive test. So there is real chaos here, and it's starting to filter through into different sectors. And I think we need some kind of overall strategy, a government response to that, because I think really we haven't seen much joined up thinking on how they're going to tackle this major workforce shortage that we're seeing. At 1.66 million jobs that can't be filled at the minute, according to the Metro front page. That's an incredible amount of jobs needing filled in a country which has actually, ironically, a similar number of people unemployed. So there's big issues here, and I think we need some kind of strategy for tackling it.
Yes, that's an increase of... Go on, Carol.
I was just going to say, I just want to talk about, I get there are shortages in the care homes. This HGV shortage, this is something that's been a long time coming. This is something that the government knew about, that the Road Haulage Association knew about. And it's not because of Brexit to do with HGV drivers. It's to do with poor pay. It's to do with supermarkets who are driving down the value of HGV. It's to do with people with the testing. Usually there are I think it's 40,000 HGV tests in a year. Last year there were 15,000. So that's got nothing to do with Brexit. That's got to do with bad organisation. And you can't be blaming Brexit for the fact that we have a shortage of HGV drivers. That's in part down to the supermarket. It's in part down to poor pay, and it's in part down to the fact that the tests haven't been done this year.
Yeah, you do blame Brexit for some of it, though, don't you? We know in the care sector there was a very high proportion of foreign workers.
The care sector is a different story. But I do think there as well, I think you would have people in this country working in care homes if the pay was better. We filled the care homes with Eastern Europeans and people from Europe because they were prepared to take low pay, and that drove down the pay rates. The same with the European lorry drivers. They were prepared to take less than the going rate so they could send money home. And that's what's happened in care homes. We don't pay these people enough. It's a really tough job, and we don't pay good money for it. A lot of care homes are privately run, so the profits aren't going to the people who work there. They're going to the people who own the care homes.
The Metro story of 1.66 million, I'm just going to quote some figures, just very quickly, said it's a leap of 193,000 in just 1 week. And the figures come from the Recruitment and Employment Confederation, suggesting that they now no longer have enough staff to take in hospital patients ready to be discharged or those referred for help by councils. And certainly we did a piece on the Isle of Wight and their care staffing crisis this week too. So this is a real problem, because if you don't get the care, what happens to people? David, just quickly.
Yeah, I think I don't disagree with anything Carol said there necessarily about this care home issue. It is the fact that we've been paying people too little, and they need better wages. But the point is, the way we've gone about this now has caused this pinch point where we just don't have people to do work, and it is the most essential work. We need these jobs filled. We need these people looked after. We need this care being provided. And I think the chaotic way we've got ourselves into this situation means we're in a point of real crisis, I think.
Lots more still to come. We'll get on to the dog napping story. You've not even picked ABBA. We're going to do ABBA. Surely we're going to do ABBA. Anyway, also this one, millions to get booster jabs. This is the Daily Express reporting that all over 50s are in line for a top-up vaccine. That and them, I hope, in a moment. Well, welcome back. You're watching the press preview. With me now, columnist Carol Malone and the editor of the Courier, David Clegg. Welcome back to both of you. 7 years jail for dog nappers. David, that's steep in the Mail.
It's very steep. It's a story that's in the front of the Mail. It's also in the Telegraph. It's a story close to my heart because I'm getting a new puppy on Sunday. I've been trying to buy a puppy recently, and I think part of this is the prices have gone up massively during the COVID lockdown. It's very expensive dogs, which has obviously made them more attractive to steal. But the plan here is to not just talk about the value of the dog, but actually reflect the fact about the cruelty and the suffering that the animal might suffer. So 7 years is a big penalty, and I think it's quite an interesting move for the government to be coming out and promoting this just now. I suspect they think it'll be a vote winner from animal lovers, and they've been giving it quite a push in the papers tomorrow. Yeah, just quickly as well, Carol. I mean, it's puppy farms, but it's also people breeding dogs who don't really know what they're doing. We see your dog bowls and the dog bed, and normally the dog by this time. To be fair,
it destroys families when their pet gets stolen in this way. Now, this new law is going to recognise the fact that dogs are sentient beings, that they think and they feel, and that they will be distressed. And it's about time that people realise that. It's not just about the value of them anymore. These animals are part of a family, and they can destroy a family. It fills me with horror to think that someone might pinch my dog. I mean, I'd be thinking every hour of every day what he's going through. So yes, these people should be punished. I just hope the courts go ahead with this. When this is made into a law, I hope the courts don't bottle out of it, because currently the sentences they give for animal cruelty they're risible. So I hope it changes.
Yes. To the idea of booster jabs, David, is he frozen? Oh, no, there you're back again. Daily Express, millions to get booster jabs. It says all over 50s are in line for a top-up COVID vaccine. Well, if we look at the Sun as well, more jabbing, less jabber. It's time to roll out boosters for over 50s and decide on kids. I think everyone just wants a decision now, don't they?
Yes, there has been some confusing rhetoric about this, and I've been finding it quite difficult to follow exactly where we are and exactly what's going on with different recommendations and, of course, the different governments across the UK. But I think there seems to be certainly a sense from the UK government and Boris Johnson that they want as many vaccines as possible. They want the booster jab for the over 50s, and also they want the scientists to get together and give the approval for various other criteria as well, so that they really can try and keep on top of this, because we have seen the numbers creeping up, particularly in Scotland. It feels at the minute like you can't really move in Scotland without a COVID outbreak somewhere. So I think it is quite clear that they need to be taking more action on this, and the action that they want to take is to deal it with vaccines. They do not want to be having to get into a situation where they're going back into some kind of COVID restrictions or for more restrictions on our day-to-day life again after enjoying freedom for the last few months. So I think this is something that we're going to see more of over the days to come.
Yeah, so it focuses the mind, doesn't it, Carol, very quickly?
But I just don't think David's right that in this country last week, the only announcement that was made that was this 500,000 people who are compromised with their immune system were going to get. It's only this week, after a huge protest, that actually they're now saying that people over 50 may get it. Because, I mean, we have to do it. What's the point of the vaccine rollout if we know immunity wanes?
We've run out of time. Carol and David, thank you both very much indeed. Great to see you.